Check one. Check 1, 2. Check. Well, good morning and welcome, as always, to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. The waves flooding in already. Look at this. Thank you so much. I think you know what we'll be talking about this morning, a little bit anyway. It's not the whole focus of the show, but we are going to be talking about shutting down Columbia's storming of the building. But we've got a couple of different takes on it that I think you're going to find very interesting. A couple of just updates as well on it in general across the country and really what it means for the future, how the media is covering it. We also have a lot here about Biden, Trump. We may talk a little bit about the hush money trial if we get a chance. First, a couple comments from yesterday's program that we didn't have an opportunity to get to. First, from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. Watching your discussion this morning about Kristi Noem. That's been a hot topic. I'm a dog lover. I have two. I would never do what she did. But don't you think it's kind of rich that a lot of the people that are criticizing her have no problem with killing a baby, meaning the abortion issue? It's undefenseless. I think that's not the viewer's typo, but the computer program we use. Isn't that kind of rich? Thanks. Good point. Thank you very much. Next comment from a viewer, different viewer. When are we going to bring back capital punishment for killing police officers? We definitely need a better deterrent. Well, I will say this. I think we're at a place in society where those on the left don't believe stricter punishments are a deterrent, as we heard from Carl Hastie in Albany. So I'm not sure the answer on that. That's a great question, though, after we saw that tragedy unfold, 2 days ago, we reported on it yesterday. Okay, as has been the case lately on the program, we are going to expose another reason why it's important to know who you're voting for. I have two updates. We mentioned the Rochester district attorney. I'm not going to get into this too much, but it's just an update. You know, she was sent to a commission, DA Sandra Dorley, who berated the police officer. Then she blamed it on stress, etc. You remember the story. Well, Governor Hochul referred her to a commission to look into this, a commission she set up. We now learn that this commission, which is 3 years old, that Hochul has referred the Rochester DA to, has never once taken a case. After 3 years, has never once taken a case. It's supposed to have 11 members appointed by various branches of state government. The state's then chief judge made her appointments in late 2021, and Democratic legislators announced their appointees soon after. But Hochul took until February of 2023 to fill 3 of her 4 positions and give the commission the quorum it requires to operate. I'm not going to go through their whole history, but I'm starting to think this may not be much of a commission to look into, Miss Dorley. So there's your first update. Second update, everybody's favorite super mayor, Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. This is just another quick update. She is the target, I should say, of an FBI criminal probe Federal agents have launched a criminal probe into the embattled mayor of a Chicago suburb, Tiffany Henyard, issuing a subpoena to the self-proclaimed supermayor last week for a trove of business records and financial reports. FBI agents served subpoenas to Henyard, who is both the mayor of Dolton and the Thornton Township supervisor. We talked about it yesterday. She spent pretty much all their money. The law firm representing her and the council said they're no longer going to represent them because they have not got paid and they do not need to work for free. She was hit with 2 subpoenas, one of them that focuses on her and her private work, and one that revolves around the township. In the first, the feds are seeking personal files, wage and tax documents, time and attendance records, contracts and checks written to cash from Henyard's multiple endeavors, a restaurant she owns, a property management company she runs, her political action committee, and a charity in her name. And there was some scandal around that charity and the political action committee, but the charity, almost to use the lingo of a mob movie, a shakedown on people to give money to her charity. The second subpoena asked for a trove of township financial documents like budgets, payroll records, and ordinances covering credit card purchases, expense reports, and reimbursements. The information the feds are seeking shows that Henyard is the primary target of the criminal probe, said former FBI agent Ross Rice. The ones that broke the story on this, or that are giving us this information, are Fox 32 out of Chicago. That's just an update now. Henyard has come under fire for treating local police akin to her personal security at a $1 million price tag. The Dolton Village Board unanimously voted to begin an investigation into her alleged spending. This is my favorite part of the story. I shouldn't laugh at it. To begin the investigation into her alleged spending of taxpayer money, but Henyard shot down the resolution with a veto last month. The board then voted to hire former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, which is another ironic twist in the story, who also served as a federal prosecutor, to investigate Henyard's spending. Then the FBI opened its own probe. The FBI has reportedly received scores of complaints against the mayor. Lawrence Gardner, a local business owner, said that his trucking business was shut down because he refused to renew a $3,500 political contribution. So there's your 2 updates. Again, not meaning to make this a part of the program, but again, to highlight why it is so important to know who you're voting for and their stances and who they are and their character, and doing that little extra research. Okay, now we talk about the anti-Israel protesters violently clashing with NYPD cops outside of City College of New York. I don't understand that. Weren't we told? I mean, this can't be, because we were told that they were peaceful protesters. Even though it's like inflation, it's like public safety in New York. We're told, never mind what you're seeing, never mind what you're hearing. Trust us. They're peaceful protesters. Now, I do want to ask you this question. If you've been following it, and if you watch this program, you've been following it more than most. Do you think, and in full disclosure, the former president, Donald Trump, believes there's a lot of outside agitators in this. Do you believe there's a lot of outside agitators, or do you believe it is more organic and grassroots with the students? I think, almost giving you the political answer, in my opinion, I think it's both. I think the outside agitators are doing a good job of fanning the flames of the mob, but I don't think you can downplay the students involved in this. I think when you start blaming other groups for it, which I do believe they're there. We had the report from the New York Post a couple days ago showing where the money's coming from, some of these Soros-type organizations. So I don't think you can downplay that, but I think at the same time you have to look at the fact that there are students that have been so indoctrinated by their professors that they want to be a part of this. They just maybe need that, not even encouragement. They need that kind of the what to do in this scenario. And so they go to the outside agitators. So where do you stand on that? Do you think it's more students? Do you think it's more outside groups? Combination? I'd love to hear from you. But yes, we were told that even though they were calling it Intifada encampment, that, and even with all the threats on Jewish students, etc., that they were a peaceful group. Now they violently clash with NYPD cops. The chaos broke out around 8 p.m. yesterday at the Harlem Public University as they tried to bust through a barricade blocking them from reaching the tent city, and the tent city popped up on Friday. One man and a cop exchanged hard shoves while some protesters hurled garbage at the officers. Suddenly, a swarm of cops moved in to make the arrest. As the protest moved out into the streets, one man was filmed bashing an NYPD officer in the head with a 5-gallon water bucket with a sticker on that bucket that read, "Israel is committing genocide in Gaza." But then the big, and I'm sure you've seen the videos, the big story comes as dozens are arrested as the NYPD, they storm, I think that word's used too much, but boy, this could be in the right case. Dramatically storm Columbia campus to clear out the anti-Israel mob. NYPD cops stormed into Columbia University's campus last night to oust a pro-terror mob that illegally took over an academic building. Have you noticed in the media, and we're going to talk a lot about the media in all of this and their complicit nature, almost encouraging these protests. I was watching some news coverage either late last night or early this morning, and I guess it depends on when you wake up, that tried to liken it, because it's actually, ironically, the anniversary of when it happened, but in 1968, when there was another takeover of that same academic building. And they said at that time, in 1968, they were fighting for civil rights and to end the Vietnam War. And I thought, you can't equate these two groups. We are talking about a group that is supporting a terrorist organization. We are talking about a group that has been harassing Jewish students, has called for the eradication of Jews in Israel and America, taking down, and I'm going to show you that photo in a moment if you haven't seen it. They took down the American flag, putting up the Palestinian flag, etc., etc. So you cannot equate those two. But if you haven't seen it, well, when we come back from break, I'll show you the photo as the NYPD raises the American flag, and it felt good, raised the American flag on City College campus in a stunning moment after bursting through the protesters. We'll show you that photo, talk about, again, this is not going to be the whole show, but it is very important because I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. I know I've said it on the show. We cannot take this lightly. I think very often we look at things like this and go, oh, now it's almost summer. These crazy kids and the faculty, they're radical. But remember, every time we've said, well, wait till they get to the real world, they get to the real world, and the real world, unfortunately, adapts and changes for them. Look at, for instance, years ago when we were talking about woke, at the very beginning of woke. And we said, oh, these kids and this woke, they'll never survive in the business world. And then what did we see businesses do? Cave to the demands. Start catering to the woke nature, the woke mindset. So we can't take this lightly, and that's why I focus so much on it. But we got to take a short break. When we come back, much more on this and other issues. So stay with us. We're just getting started here on Frankly Speaking.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Attention, if you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
Bathroom of your dreams is only a phone call away with BCI Bath and Shower. We can make your ordinary bath and shower extraordinary. This is not a cookie cutter design. This is a complete custom build that will fit your every need. It's never been easier or more affordable than right now to get the bathroom of your dreams. We have the best monthly programs in the industry with payments as low as $99 per month or no payments, no interest for 18 months with approved credit. The hardest part of your new bathroom is gutting and building the tub and shower. If your bathing area is old, there could be damage behind the walls and possible mold and mildew, which can be a serious safety issue. At BCI, we don't cover a problem, we fix it. Call now to get a never clean glass treated door with a no-track system at half off for the first 50 callers. Factory trained, certified installers made in the USA and discounts for seniors and military. Call 800-704-1798. That's 800-704-1798.
As we overlook Market Street on this Wednesday morning at 6:15, welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple of comments from viewers. Good morning. Good morning. I heard a piece last night about Secretary of State Blinken's visit to Saudi Arabia, where he is negotiating a ceasefire and hostage release, and his comments that Hamas was given a proposal that was extraordinarily generous. Repeating, extraordinarily, has me very concerned. I will ask others about this. That was kind of the point of this comment. I saw that same video. I may have touched on it briefly yesterday, just saying that it concerns me. But I don't think we really dove into depth over what it means. So I will try to do some research on that and find out more. Also, can we just clean house and reset the not so great reset? Where did they get all of these misfits that have taken over all key positions in all major cities? I believe we have been complacent, enjoying life and not doing our part by attending our various town meetings, school board meetings, etc. We've trusted in our so-called educators, and they are failing us miserably, in my opinion. A lot of great points in that. First of all, I think we have become complacent. And that's why I've talked so much about these protests, because I think very often, and this has been a discussion for a long time, conservatives specifically, but in general, people are busy. You have a stressful life. You've got a lot going on. And when you do have free time, you want to spend it with your family or your friends or whatever the case may be, or just relax. So you may not want to go out to that school board meeting, or you may not want to go to your town or city council meeting. You may not want to get involved. You may not want to run for something, whatever the case may be. But that's when we start to see the falling apart of, and this is what kind of started the show over a year ago, was the discussion of getting back to community. People have lost faith in community. They've lost faith in their faith. They've lost faith in patriotism. And that's because, to use the old term, we've gotten fat and happy. We sat back, and said, well, look at those crazy kids on college campuses, or look at that crazy mayor, or this. Boy, that was a bad decision, but life goes on. No, we've gotten complacent, and this is, well, we kind of reap what we sow, and we let this spread like a cancer, and that's what we're seeing. That's why we said these protests had to be shut down immediately, because when they started coddling the kids and not having any repercussions for them, we've seen what happens, and it's spread. But on a somewhat positive note, looking at this photo, it's not the greatest photo, but the American flag was re-raised at City College of New York after anti-Israel protesters removed it and replaced it with a Palestinian flag. NYPD Deputy Commissioner Kaz Daugherty wrote, an incredible scene and proud moment as we have assisted City College in restoring order on campus, culminating in raising Old Glory once again on their campus flagpole. Isn't that nice? I know it's not the greatest picture, but it gives you kind of goosebumps. Video from Wednesday morning captured members of the NYPD standing atop the base of the flagpole as they worked to remove the quad-color flag, where they ripped it from the rope before tossing it to the ground. The American flag was subsequently raised back up during an impromptu ceremony, along with a speech from Daugherty. How nice. There's a silver lining to come out of all this. Have you seen... there's a video And I saw this yesterday, and it really, again, we can't laugh at this kind of thing. We have to take it seriously, but it also shows you what we're dealing with these protesters. Again, they believed there would be absolutely no repercussions, no punishments, and why would they think there would be? The president capitulated. Yeah, of course, there's some arrests early on, but nothing really came from it. And then they let them rebuild their encampment, and then nothing was done. I mean, let's face it, the president of Colombia did horribly. But they were interviewing a Columbia University protester who actually once worked for a consulting firm hired by Bill de Blasio, a far-left consulting firm. She demanded, remember, it's always demand. And don't, you're going to laugh at this in a way, but take this very seriously. She demanded that the school help get, quote, basic humanitarian aid, such as food and water, to the anti-Israel rioters illegally occupying a campus building. So, of course, the campus building has been cleared out. So this is happening earlier in the day. So what they're saying is we want to be able to protest. We want to make other students uncomfortable, scared, intimidated, the Jewish students, that is. We want to do all this, be involved with a lot of destruction. And not only do we not want to get in any kind of trouble, because remember, faculty was calling for amnesty, meaning the kids would get in absolutely no trouble. It would not affect them into adulthood. And I've heard people say, well, they're kids and this is going to be tough to follow them. We can't look at it this way. These professors, instead of teaching these radical ideas, these radical anti-Israel views, maybe they should be teaching kids that there are consequences in life. And when we say kids, they are entering into adulthood, or let's face it, the way college goes sometimes, they're probably already well into adulthood. So they have to understand there are consequences. That, as I think it was one of the members from or one of the presidents at a college in Florida saying, we're not babysitters. But these students wanted to, with no kind of consequences, intimidate fellow students, be involved in this destruction, support Hamas, and then they want to whine that the school is not bringing them food and water. Again, you want to laugh, but you've got to take this very seriously because this is the mindset. Do you want students, this is what they said, like, could people please have a glass of water? Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill, even if they disagree with you? If the answer is no, then you should allow basic. I mean, it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. It is very telling that at an Ivy League school, the grammar or the language this person is using, like a lot. Anyway. So the reporter actually says, it seems like you're sort of saying we want to be revolutionaries. We want to take over this building. Now, would you please bring us some food and water? It's not kind of like saying that. That is what they're saying. So the protester, who, guess what the protester studies in? Studies Marxist principles at Columbia. That is a class. I don't know if that's considered a major, but studies Marxist principles. So instead of being taught maybe about consequences into adulthood and, life lessons, being taught Marxist principles. She replied, nobody's asking them to bring anything. We're asking them to not violently stop us from bringing in basic humanitarian aid. So again, with the police getting involved, that's considered quote unquote violence. Because remember, this is also very anti-police. Asked if the university has tried to stop supplies from being brought to the illegal occupiers, the protester admitted she actually didn't know. So that's another important thing to take away. A lot of times they're saying these things are happening when they're not even sure. How many videos have you seen where the people that are protesting don't even know what they're protesting? But we are looking for a commitment from them that they will not stop it, the woman said. I do not know to what extent it has been attempted, but we're looking for a commitment. Now, here's an important point. Before the exchange with the reporter, she had previously said the students occupying Hamilton Hall were, quote, asking for a commitment from Columbia for food and water to be brought in to, quote, ensure the safety of their students. So they're not concerned about the safety of the Jewish students on college campuses. They're concerned about the safety of the protesters that are revolutionaries, radicalized, trying to destroy property, which they accomplished, attacking police, etc., etc. They, this whole time, have intimidated and attacked Jewish members of their campus But now they are overly concerned about the safety of their own, meaning Columbia's students. That's a little look in a nutshell, if you will, of what we're dealing with. The entitlement, and this goes back to the point I've been making from the beginning. This is very much a me protest. That this is all about me. I'm the most revolutionary. I'm the most anti-Semitic, which again, going back to that piece that I keep talking about, Hamas to the new left, Hamas is now cool and swastikas are woke. Keep that in mind. And just to show you one more glimpse into what we're dealing with, and again, this is not to laugh at. This is to show you what we're dealing with. One student, as they were getting arrested, saying a lot of cuss words, and then saying to the police officers, "It's finals. Can I go home?" The pro-Hamas terrorists are crying that the NYPD won't let them leave the building they broke into and occupied and are going to arrest them. So as they're getting arrested, as they're getting the consequences of their actions, they're saying, wait a minute. Can I just go home? It's finals. We've got a couple statements on this. I don't want to give you too much updates. I'm sure you've been seeing it. Oh, a lot of waves coming in. Thank you. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the statements that are being made. Do you believe it's professional outside agitators? Many do. I do believe there are some there, but I don't think you can ignore or take away that many of the students involved with this believe in their cause, their pro-terrorist, anti-Israel cause. But we do have to take a break because I am running late. Stay with us.
Was your premature baby fed a cow's milk baby formula such as Similac or Enfamil? If so, your child may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Evidence shows that cow's milk formulas increase the risk of NEC in premature babies, causing severe harm and even death. If your child was born premature and suffers from NEC, intestinal perforations, sepsis, cerebral palsy, or died as a result, you may have the right to sue for significant financial compensation. Call now for a free case review.
I was an athlete when I grew up, and I always wanted to stay near athletes. What drove me to orthopedics and sports medicine in general was the need and the want to help these patients from their time of injury and helping them with surgery and through the rehab, getting them back to the field. My patients are obviously very important to me. These athletes, weekend warriors, all of them, I really want them to get back and be doing the things that they want to be doing.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Shell Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on.
I've got to be honest, today, even though we just moved to 2 hours long, I feel like 2 hours is not enough. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking. Such great comments here. Here's one from a viewer. Good point. That was me. I was guilty, busy, a single parent for many years, earning a living and a degree, exhausted after hours, not wanting to leave the house. I get it. It's not to knock anybody who says I can't make it to that meeting or I'm not getting involved. I totally understand it. But we've also, and we're all guilty of it, you see the people that are active. You see the people that have been working behind the scenes, and they haven't rested, and then we sometimes have to be mindful of what it leads to. And unfortunately, this is what it leads to. And it's not just, and this is in reference to not just the protesters, but obviously like Mayor Henyard out of Dolton, Illinois, and those types of stories. So I appreciate that. Another comment. It's not so much that we've all become complacent as much as it's become, if you speak up against the craziness, you quickly get shut down and you become the bad guy. That is also a very great point. The self-censorship that conservatives have talked about for so long. And it really, we could tie it in with college campuses, right? How many kids would want to admit on a college campus that they're a conservative or that they're going to vote for Trump? They're ostracized. They become a social pariah. They have no friends. And now, unfortunately, what we see on college campuses, you may physically get attacked. So, yes, I do think there's a level of that. I do think there's some where conservatives, historically, they want to raise their families. They want to work their job, come home, spend time with their families and friends. And that sometimes means other things get pushed aside. That, again, that's not knocking anybody who didn't attend their last town board meeting. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I think it's very easy not to get involved. But in this case, I do think it is very easy to say, oh, boy, I don't want people yelling at me, or I don't want to be labeled the town crazy. I don't want, I totally understand. It's been and this goes back to the argument with the media. The media has done a great job of pushing the talking points about MAGA or about the deplorables, if you will, where it has caused a lot of people to self-censor. I would agree with that. Another comment. They need to be responsible for their actions, meaning the young people protesting, and call Grubhub for water. Yes, that's a good idea. If they're going to play activists, they should pay and not expect the university to bring them supplies. It's the entitlement. Now, Columbia had to make a statement. We regret that protesters have chosen to escalate the situation through their actions. After the university learned overnight that Hamilton Hall had been occupied, vandalized, and blockaded, we were left with no choice. Columbia public safety personnel were forced out of the building, and a member of our facilities team, was threatened. We will not risk the safety of our community or the potential for further escalation. But it didn't really bother you to risk the safety of your community before, though, right? But that's just the Jewish community part of it. I just want to understand. Columbia added the decision was made to restore safety and order to our community. We believe that the group that broke into and occupied the building is led by individuals who are not affiliated with the university. Very convenient how that constantly happens. Sadly, this dangerous decision followed more than a week of what has been productive discussions with representatives of the West Lawn encampment. So again, many people, Mayor Eric Adams and others in the NYPD said professional outside agitators are behind the illegal takeover. This is to serve their own agenda. They're not here to promote peace, unity, allow a peaceful display in one voice, but they are here to create discord and divisiveness. We cannot and will not allow that, what should be a peaceful gathering, to turn into a violent spectacle that serves no purpose. How can it be a peaceful gathering when they're making pro-Hamas statements? How is it a peaceful gathering when they are literally intimidating the Jewish community on campus? This idea of peaceful. But there was, to the point of an outside professional agitator, a video released of a professional protest consultant at Columbia University, who I guess got really upset with someone trying to get in. It was very strange. So I do believe there's consultants involved in this. Don't get me wrong. I just think we cannot downplay the students involved. In the video, during the press event, 63-year-old Lisa Fithian is seen watching a group of protesters chant anti-Israel slogans. Fithian is a professional protest consultant who has been arrested over 80 times. Fithian has reportedly participated in protests on climate change, Occupy Wall Street, and now the Free Palestine movement. Now, this is how much they've caved to these protesters. Mayor Adams urged parents to get their children off of Columbia's campus. What should have been peaceful protests, which is part of the constitutional rights of America, has clearly been co-opted. We have sounded the alarms numerous times before about external actors who are attempting to hijack this protest. If you are a parent or guardian of a student, please call your child and urge them to leave the area before the situation escalates in any way. This is for their own safety and the safety of others. Did you see the piece by Piers Morgan on this? I'm kind of going to jump ahead here a little bit. because I know I could tell already we're going to run late. But Piers Morgan had an op-ed, I saw it at the New York Post, and it's where we'll say the heck are the parents of these deluded Columbia students chanting about attacking Jews. It costs about $90,000 a year to attend Columbia University. Most undergraduates do 4 years of studying there, which means that if they're not getting any subsidized grants, their parents are coughing up a total of $360,000 just for their tuition, housing, food, and books. Add in other expenses like travel, and mommy and daddy won't be getting much change out of $400,000, and that's a lot of money. But those parents would doubtless consider it a price worth paying to give their child what is supposed to be one of the best educations in the world at such a supposedly elite institution. I use supposedly because Columbia has now proved itself to be none of those things. Instead, it's become a disgraceful hotbed of toxic terrorism supporting insanity. And its lunatic students have literally taken over the asylum. I would say it's not just the students, though. I'd say it's the faculty as well. I think those are very much the agitators that are being referenced. But he ends by saying, it was stunning to see the real-time impact of their social media and peer pressure. This is what I've been talking about on the program, perhaps too long, you would argue. It was stunning to see the real-time impact of their social media and peer pressure and the very genuine fear of not being seen to care in the agreed manner. So he words that a little bit highfalutin, if you will. But what he's saying is the social media, the peer pressure, where students got involved in this. And this is why I say we've got to take it seriously, because they wanted to be liked by the quote-unquote cool kids, the cool kids that are screaming punk rock things. And I say punk rock because it is. They're trying to shock many of these younger people by saying, we don't like Israel. When they start chanting pro-Hamas chants. They start talking about the eradication of Israel and Jews. These are things that have been discussed. And there's people on the campus that say, boy, I don't want to go to social media someday. And people are saying that I don't care, that I'm not a part of this movement, that my friends are all a part of. It is stunning, but it's not new. It's one of the many negative effects of social media. But obviously peer pressure and wanting to be liked has long been an issue for people this age. And in this case, many got wrapped up in this radicalized anti-Israel protest. But that shows you how easily they can be manipulated. I don't think others aren't watching this, which also would add how much are other countries, how much are Iran and others laughing at us right now over this. But back to Piers Morgan's point about the elite university. What do you think? Let's say this is what I think is a really, and I know I mentioned this quickly yesterday. I think this is a side effect that I feel really bad for the student that went to class, just wanted to get their work done, wanted to get that degree so they could get a better job. Then their fellow students did this. And how many big businesses and how many corporations are going to say, I don't know, this person graduated in 2024 at Columbia. I don't want to do the research to see if they were a radical or not. I think we better just overlook them. But anyway, just to wrap up Piers Morgan thing, because I'm running late. I'm sure that's fueling a lot of what we're seeing at Columbia and other U.S. universities, meaning the peer pressure being the want for being liked. But the abject failure of these protesters' parents to inject some common sense and discipline into their children is what shocks me most. Evil prospers when good parents do nothing. All right, we are running late. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Read some of your comments when we come back.
Attention, this is an important message for firefighters, members of the military, and airport workers. For decades, first responders and firefighters at military bases and airports used a chemical-based foam to fight fires. Studies have shown that chemicals used to make aqueous film-forming foam, or AFFF, are highly toxic to humans and have been associated with several types of cancer. If you or someone you know was diagnosed with any of those cancers, call now for a free case review.
Attention high school students, college transfer students, or anyone looking to further their education. This is the event for you at the Elmira Elks on May the 8th. There will be a free college fair with free parking. Come and talk to 2- and 4-year college representatives, in and out of state schools, public and private schools, technical schools, United States Armed Service recruiters, local police and fire departments recruiting new cadets. This only happens once a year, May the 8th at the Elmira Elks College Fair from 6 to 8 p.m.
Rated the hearing aids of 2023 by Forbes, the Audion Atom 2 series offers superior sound quality and functionality for a fraction of the price. For just $189 a pair, the Atom 2 features 4 different hearing modes for all types of hearing loss. It packs crystal clear sound, a nearly invisible design, and is even rechargeable.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids. They're so comfortable, I forget I'm wearing them. And the sound is amazing.
The Atom Pro 2 is our smallest hearing aid yet, featuring advanced background noise cancellation, and is the world's first hearing aid with built-in UV cleaning that kills 99% of bacteria.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed without seeing a doctor or having a hearing test.
Join over 500,000 happy customers today and get the hearing you deserve.
Call 1-800-434-9816 or go to audionhearing.com to get your pair of Audion hearing aids starting at just $189.
Is this the start of a dynasty?
Ryan Blaney is a NASCAR Cup Series champion.
A redemption tour? Ready to go to work. Is this the face of a ruthless competitor or a villain?
I'd be your favorite driver.
Is it time for a breakthrough? Let's go! To get back to breaking stuff? Or is this the makings of the wildest ride you'll ever witness? It's all of the above, and it's about to go down.
And we are back. So much to get to here, and I realize I'm running so late. AOC and Jamal Bowman weighed in on this. AOC last night saying if any kid is hurt tonight, responsibility will fall on the mayor and university presidents. Other leaders and schools have found a safe, de-escalatory path. That this is the opposite of leadership and endangers public safety, a nightmare in the making. Remember, and the media is doing this too, the problem isn't the protesters and their destruction and the anti-Semitism. The problem is when the universities call in the police. So when they're reporting on the president that they don't like the president of Colombia, it's because she called in the police. It's not because she let this fester. And also we'll talk more about what AOC said in a second. Jamal Bowman said he is outraged by the level of police presence. See, the problem is the police presence, not the destruction, not the intimidation of Jewish students, etc. The militarization of college campuses, extensive police presence, and arrest of hundreds of students, well, is it students or outside agitators? We got to get this straight, are in direct opposition to the role of education as a cornerstone of our democracy. I wish they were educated. I think that's the well, we'll get to that too. I call upon the Columbia administration to stop this dangerous escalation before it leads to further harm and allow the faculty back onto campus so that all parties can collectively come to a solution that centers humanity over hate. Oh, well, in what part of these protests have we seen humanity over hate, Mr. Bowman? That would be my question. But the New York Post editorial board has a very good point on this. Whether it's Biden or whether it's Shafiq, the Colombia president, de-escalation keeps on failing. If you didn't realize that the folks who run Colombia think the same as the ones running Biden foreign policy, consider their shared feckless faith in de-escalation and finger waving. Just as with President Biden's well-worn don't to America's enemies, Colombia President Shafiq has issued a bevy of toothless warnings to the students occupying the campus quad and now Hamilton Hall. Now, of course, last night they finally had to go in last night and get those protesters out of there. But what they're showing, and it says here, unfortunately, Biden will keep on de-escalating in America's name, at least through next January. We're trying not to contemplate how much of the nation's enemies will escalate before he's gone. That's the point. So when they keep calling for de-escalation, when has that worked? When Colombia was essentially hands-off after the first arrest, it only grew worse. The encampments only grew worse, and then they stormed Hamilton Hall. And this is what I'm saying. The media is doing this too, and keep a close eye on this. Columbia Students for Justice in Palestine tweeted this last night. To be clear, Columbia University has called the cops onto its own students for the second time in 2 weeks. On the 56th anniversary of what they last called the police into campus to arrest over 700 protesting the Vietnam War and Harlem gentrification on April 30th, 1968. See, they're comparing themselves to the past movements. Now, Mika Brzezinski said on Morning Joe, which you'll never hear me quote her often, but I think it's important to show you what the media looks like, because in the next segment, we're going to tell you a lot about the media. She said, it looked like January 6th It looked exactly like January 6th. So students have quite a model in MAGA Republicans, I guess. Yes, we have numerous examples, and that's why I know we're going to run late this morning, where somehow it's Republicans. And you're saying, how could that be, Frank? They're trying to say Republicans are just using this to show chaos against Biden, or in this case, look, they're just emulating what they saw on January 6th. Scarborough said after Charlottesville, when there were people saying, no, there are good people on both sides, universal condemnation. Here, it's chants going on and on from the river to the sea, and people talking about genocide and holding up signs that talk about the final solution. I will say, we're getting a lot of correspondence from people who are saying, yeah, we understand that stuff, but just look through there. There are good people on both sides. Just ignore the genocidal hatred towards Jews and look at these other people and what they're trying to do. It's interesting how they want college administrators and Jewish students to sort through genocidal chants as they go to class and be fine with it, because it's part of a bigger cause. And I will say also, as Mika said, it looked a lot like January 6th. That was game, set, match for most of the people, for us, and also for people in the center and a lot of people on the left. Now it seems that there are some people that are celebrating this as an act of civil disobedience, instead of just raw vandalism and criminal activity that it is. And suddenly, the people who are so offended about January 6th, rightly so offended about what Donald Trump said after Charlottesville, rightly, are saying, yeah, but this is complicated. No, it's just not complicated. And I don't think administrators should say, yeah, but let's sort through this, and maybe the crimes aren't so bad. Maybe the ends justify the means. No, they did it on January 6th. They don't here. And full disclosure, I never watched Joe Scarborough, though I know a lot about him. I will say that's very tough to follow his rhythm and his cadence. But FIRE, free speech, if you don't know what that is, it's a Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, said while peaceful protests on college campuses must be supported, vandalism and occupying buildings is not protected by the First Amendment. All right, we got to take another break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Attention, if you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
I'm Marian Burt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me, to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking. We've got to move quick this morning. We have so much to cover. We've got one more break to take in this hour, but we will be talking a little bit into the second hour about this because there's a few takes on this I think you really need to hear to get a better idea of what we're dealing with. LAPD responded to the UCLA protesters more than 2 hours after escalating demonstrations. 2 hours let them get violent. Former U.S. Congressman and gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin said arrests should be made and anyone here on a visa should be immediately deported. House Speaker Mike Johnson said amid this absolute chaos at Columbia University, Joe Biden is absent because he's afraid to face the issue. Meanwhile, House Republicans are leading the effort to investigate these institutions for their failure to protect Jewish students and maintain order on campus. To that point, did you see that Michael Moore, you remember Michael Moore, basically saying that Biden could lose, and he believes right now he is on path to lose because of the fact that Biden's taken too strong of a stance pro-Israel, which we've seen weakening and weakening. Hey, this is not me describing what the new left looks like, okay? This is just what's being reported by a lot of the people on the left and what we're seeing with our own eyes. Trump said on Sean Hannity's show, it should have never gotten to this. And back to my point that he believes is paid agitators. He said, well, I think you have paid agitators here. These are all the signs that are identical, made by the same printer. It should have never gotten to this. They should have done it a lot sooner before they took over the building. Yeah, that's what happens when you kind of show there's no repercussions. You let them get their way. That's mob mentality is. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to escalate as they call for de-escalation. He also asked, where is Chuck Schumer? This is former President Trump. I'm watching Jewish politicians abandon Israel. I've seen it. You've seen it. Where is Schumer? Why isn't Schumer speaking up? He was always out there in front because he's looking at votes, I guess. I guess he's looking at maybe more votes than those that represent Israel. Now, there were two students, right? I thought I had two students that talked about this. I went to Columbia that wrote for the New York Post. Ricky Schlott, who has been speaking out about this since it's been going on, said, we pay nearly $90,000 a year to attend Columbia, but can't even get on campus to study or eat. Yes, the administration put a certain group over another. Columbia University students who are paying an eye-watering $89,000 in tuition say they're not getting their money's worth now that campus is closed in the wake of ongoing protests and riots. As a part-time student myself, I was outraged when I showed up to campus Tuesday, swiped my ID card, and set off an alarm. Even though I'm paying Columbia tuition, I'm barred from using the campus grounds. It feels as if those students like me are being punished for the actions of a rule-breaking few. Yeah, you are being punished, and also they are being supported until they can no longer be supported. According to RISPO, I'm not sure what that is, the solution is simple. The university should refund a portion of students' money for lost time and access. I think at this point, it's fair for the university to prorate tuition. Our access to the school is being inhibited, and there absolutely should be a monetary adjustment. I certainly feel the same. My first semester at Columbia has been derailed by tension and hostility on campus, and now I can't even get access to it. And again, I think this really dilutes your degree. Luke Seminara said, I witnessed Columbia University's impotent surrender to the mob. In sum, my alma mater is barely functioning as a university, a fact now painfully obvious to the entire nation. This is a very Ivy League tragedy. In seeking to preserve its reputation, image, and prestige, Columbia has rapidly depleted all these things. As a first-hand witness of such self-destruction, I hope the embarrassment is lasting enough to elicit change. Where do we want to go from here? I'm going to take a break. We've got another opinion piece on this. We are going to bleed a little bit into the second hour on the protest, but we do have a lot here on Trump. Do you think... I know Marjorie Taylor Greene's throwing around some threats about trying to take out Mike Johnson again. Hakeem Jeffries has signaled his support in a way to help Mike Johnson. What do you think about that? We also have a few things. Here's a good question. Why is Bob Goldbars Menendez still in the Senate? Have you thought about that? There's a piece here. We probably won't get a chance to get into it, but from the Post editorial board. Why is Bob Goldbars Menendez still sitting in the U.S. Senate? Isn't that a good question? All right, we're going to take a break. Last break of this hour. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
More cars. Lower prices. More cars at lower prices. You've waited long enough. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at Simmons-Rockwell.com, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
We are back with Frankly Speaking here on Big Fox. There's an interesting piece by Michael Goodwin before we wrap up this hour. And he said, don't think this is over, that this disgraceful anti-Semitic episode is over. He said it would be a mistake to believe that. After all, the pro-Hamas stooges, the complicit faculty, and the quisling administrators are still jockeying for power. With graduation still 2 weeks away, it's too early to declare a winner. Coming from a group called Apartheid Divest, the demand, along with the students celebrating terrorists who butcher babies and use rape as a weapon, proves beyond a doubt that activists have contracted a serious case of anti-Semitism. It also means they're not very bright. No doubt most of them own Apple products, many of which include components manufactured in Israel. Reflecting their collective ignorance, one of the stooges said earlier Tuesday, "We will not stop until every single one of our demands are met, until every single inch of Palestine is free." Free in this case means free of Jews. He or his parents deserve a tuition refund because he has learned nothing of value and doesn't realize how sick with hate he is. Here's the problem. I would say he did learn something. I would say he learned this anti-Semitism from the very professors that were outside standing with them in solidarity. But there's another demand the rabble-rousers were making that now appears to be obsolete: amnesty. It was a cowardly demand to begin with. The insufferable rebels, without a legitimate cause, believe they should suffer no consequences for violating college rules and the rights of their fellow students, and for actively supporting the eradication of the Jewish state. Think about it. They're calling for genocide, making them guilty of the very thing they accuse Israel of committing, while depriving others of their right to an education and a sense of physical safety. Yet they don't think they've done anything wrong. Yeah, and I wonder, to the students that didn't protest, the students that wanted to go to class, what do they get? Do they get their tuition back? Do they get any kind of pat on the back as we're seeing these protesters get? Such a stunning combination of ignorance and arrogance is more than enough justification to give them the boot. And don't forget the members of the faculty who helped incite this disaster. The indoctrination of students in a mudbath of hatred against Israel has been a fixture at Columbia for decades, and supposed scholars added to their complicity by surrounding the tent camp as if to protect it from the police. They were happy to preen for the cameras, so the self-incriminating evidence against them is overwhelming too. Tenured radicals indeed. So this is a really good piece. We don't have time to get to all of it, but it's from Michael Goodwin at the New York Post. We're going to talk a little bit more about this when we come back. It's not going to be the whole focus of the next hour. Do not worry. Oh, yes, and to the viewer's comment, Menendez is still a senator because Democrats would lose a majority. Thought that is obvious. Yeah, it is obvious. But I thought it was an interesting question that they were asking. And where did I see that? Was it? It was an opinion piece by the New York Post, and it is basically a way to criticize Schumer and others. For Democrats, all the Democrats' thunders about threat to our democracy. Schumer sits on his hands when it comes to Menendez. Come on, Chuck, tell Goldbars to go. And if he refuses, get the march to an expulsion vote started. Yes, but you're right. I mean, it's all about the vote. It's simply about the vote. Okay, this hour, frankly speaking, is through. We have 1 hour left together. How fast did the first hour go? You can only imagine what the second hour is going to look like. I did want to mention just quickly, tomorrow and Friday we have two special guests during the Stu Benz Senior Services Fund interview. Tomorrow for the full hour, and last time there was a little bonus time. He came in a little bit before 7 o'clock. Former Congressman, current Assembly candidate, and current chairman of the Steuben County Republican Committee, Joe Sempolinski, will be our guest, so make sure you get your questions in for that. And then on Friday, we're going to talk to our old friend. If you're new to the program, you may not remember him, but Shades is going to be in on Friday from Tioga Downs to tell us his Derby picks, because Saturday is Derby Day, so you won't want to miss that. We had fun time talking with Shades. That's his nickname. He's going to join us on Friday's show during the Stu Benz Senior Services Fund interview section of the program. So there's a couple of housekeeping notes. Stay with us. A little bit more about the college campuses, but a lot about Trump and a lot about Biden. So please stay right there. This is Frankly Speaking on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We'll be right back after this short commercial break, and then we'll reset to hour number 2.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselsen's Hot Tub. Hesselsen's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselsen's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselsen's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselsen's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Attention, if you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and now have uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call now to see if you qualify. There's no fee unless we win your case.
I'm Marianne Kurt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's.
Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Acom, and of course, we are proudly broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. If you're just joining us, we've been talking about the college protests and what unfolded last night. I've got 2 or maybe 3 examples here that are a little different from the last hour that I have to show you, looking at what the other side is saying about these protests. First, a comment from a viewer. Frank, the rioters know that there will be no real repercussions for their actions, and disrupting the institutions and breaking stuff is fun. That's what it's also cool. It also gets them the likes and the shares on social media. So a slap on the wrist for all of that attention of how much how they could prove to their friends how anti-Semitic they were, how intimidating they were to Jewish students. For whatever reason, in today's left culture, that is woke. That is going to get you the likes. But continuing with the comment, the left knows that this spring of peace helps keep the country divided and keeps their focus off the work that they are doing. The focus off the work they are doing, like the lawfare against Trump. Good point, Ken. And to that point, I'm not going to jump ahead to piggyback because I want to go to this one first. Okay, we always like to look at both sides here on Frankly Speaking. This is from Jeremy Surrey. Now, Jeremy Surrey, I have no idea who he is, but he writes for CNN. No, he's, let's see, they probably have his bio here. He holds the Mac Brown Distinguished Chair for Leadership and Global Affairs at the University of Texas at Austin, where he is a professor in the History Department and the LBJ School. Okay. Jeremy Surrey writes for CNN, what conservatives don't get about the protests roiling college campuses. Now, when I saw that, I said, this is interesting, because maybe there is something I don't get. Do you know what it is that conservatives don't get? This was our fault. I know. I should have told you. I hope that you're sitting. Many prominent figures in the Republican Party have the same elite university pedigree as George W. Bush did, but show little respect for campus life as the president did at a commencement speech in 2001. To the contrary, some Republican leaders have spent the last 2 decades condemning everything about the universities that boosted their careers. The expertise on subjects like climate change, the values around diversity and inclusion, and even the commitment to teach a full history of our country. Ooh, interesting. A full history of our country. Okay, remember, he's a history professor. This Republican war on universities is the essential history behind the current conflicts on campuses. Yes, because we were critical of the radicalization of students, because conservatives were critical of professors teaching radical ideas and indoctrinating students, it is our fault because I guess the students finally said they've had enough, so they decided to take up the mantle of anti-Israel, pro-Hamas, instead of focusing, I guess, on what he calls an attack on education. These attacks have over the years undermined university leadership. Well, I think we've been shown time and time again these last few weeks that leadership should be undermined on these college campuses, and provoked students, staff, and faculty. External pressure has brought excessive police presence onto campuses as witnessed across the country last week. Yes, remember, that's the problem that many have. It's the police presence. It's not the protest. So he goes through and gives a 3-page dissertation on this, but we'll wrap it up in a kind of a neat little bow. But attacking the protesters and trying to cancel them, as happened when my university leaders brought police onto campus last week, only escalates the conflict and encourages more violence. See, remember, the cops are the problem, you see. They want to keep going for this de-escalation that never works. What de-escalation means in this case is let the kids just do whatever they want. They want to destroy a couple buildings along the way. If you don't let them and they see police, it's only going to make things worse. The protesters already feel, and tell me if you believe the protesters are actually thinking this, the protesters already feel under siege from right-wing politicians and university administrators. Oh, so now the administrators are the problem. All because she had the audacity at Columbia to call in the police. Now she's a problem. Even though she let, and so many administrators let the students run amok. But I know I can't keep interjecting. Let him finish. The protesters already feel under siege from right-wing politicians and university administrators. Police action reinforces that feeling and provokes more protest. Again, it's the police's fault. And Republicans. So too do developments like the disclosure from the Republican Speaker of the House that he is considering reducing or eliminating federal funding for college campuses as protests continue. Oh, so that's leading, well, maybe that's leading more to faculty protests, getting involved in these protests because they don't want to lose their cash cow. That they just keep hiking tuition because they know they're just going to get more money from the government. Can you imagine this? So this person, reading between the lines, through all the anti-Semitic chanting, through all the screaming about the eradication of Jews, what they're really trying to say is they feel frustration after years of Republicans being mad about the indoctrination they're receiving on college campuses. And that only makes matters worse. This goes to show you, going back to my point about professors living in a bubble, I think Mr. Surrey may have been living in this academic bubble a little too long. And what do people, have you found anyway, that work in academia so often feel? They feel that the most important job in the world is their job. They have the most important job surrounded by yes men, meaning the students, of indoctrinating these kids. So how dare anybody question them allowing protesters to scream anti-Semitic things, and also how dare they criticize the faculty getting involved. I'm not done yet. That's not even his last statement, though, because this is when I told you we're going to see a lot more of this. We were in a similar situation in the late 60s and early 70s when students, staff, and faculty across the United States felt ignored and attacked by politicians who supported the Vietnam War. See, how can anybody be critical of academia? How can anybody be critical of professors and students? Don't you get how important their job is and how important, number one, they are? They felt attacked. Well, if they feel attacked, let's back off. That's not if you're attacking Jewish students on the college campuses. That's a different kind of attack. That's okay. That's supported by faculty and administrators. Continuing. I don't want to go in. They start talking about Kent State and all that. He starts talking about what we need are politicians who, despite their disagreements with liberal professors, are willing to stand up for the benefits received from their own university education. Not all protesters will greet dialogue with openness, but many will. Did we see any of that over these protests? But continuing. I know this from my own experience. The time has come to end what has been a long political war on universities. It no longer benefits anyone except those who truly want to destroy higher education and build their careers by repressing the free speech of young, talented citizens. I don't know how talented. I know they were talented at screaming anti-Semitic things and very talented at trying to destroy buildings and intimidating Jewish students. So never mind that you disagree with what your child or other young people are being indoctrinated with. Never mind that. Because they are the most important. The higher education, those who work in higher education are the most important. What in the world does he think? Oh, some won't listen, but many will. What did we see about this week that would make you think that? But if you disagree with liberal professors, just ignore it. Let them get away with it. Let them get away with indoctrination. And now, more than ever, the time has come to end what has been a long political war on Europe. Now is the time, after what we've seen that they have done to the young people and indoctrinated them, what they have done to them, is now the times to ignore what's happening behind the scenes at higher education. So that's a quick look into the mindset of what we're dealing with. Then, how am I doing? Oh, I'm doing okay. Because I'm not going to talk about this for the whole hour. But I saw another piece. So that was from CNN. That was from a history professor. Very, very, very much like the protesters themselves. Very elitist, very narcissistic, if you will. It's all about me, me, me. So just ignore what's happening on college campuses. Ignore the decades of indoctrination for these students and what it has reaped. Ignore all of that and support higher education. But then I saw a piece from Stephen Collinson at CNN that attracted my interest. And it said, student unrest ratchets up at an already tense election year. And I thought, well, that's interesting to bring it into election year. But yes, I thought maybe it'd be kind of what Michael Moore was saying, which is Biden's losing votes of young people because he's being considered Genocide Joe because he supports Israel whatsoever. But here's the piece that got me interested. Oops. Wrong sheet. Here we go. Republicans smell an opening. And I said, wait a minute. Is Stephen Collinson from CNN going to blame this on Republicans? Elise Stefanik is a driver of the deepening political backlash against campus protests. Why would there not be a backlash against anti-Semitic protests? The New York Republican is a frequent booster of Trump's democracy-threatening falsehoods about the 2020 electoral fraud. But the Harvard graduate made the critical intervention in a House hearing last year that exposed the stunning, equivocating by several Ivy League presidents about anti-Semitism spiking across campus in the wake of the war in Gaza. I don't want to get into this because he tries to compare it back to the protests of Nam and like that. The unrest is so far not comparable since there's no student mob trying to destroy American democracy. But the former president's arguments will be persuasive to his millions of supporters and only complicate Biden's position on the protests. So I said, wow, they're going to blame the media. And then this perfect piece came from the New York Post. Media can't admit Biden's disasters and campus hate, so they blame it on conservative pounce. And if you remember, I brought this up yesterday, that they were not, so far they're not critical of what the protesters have done or were doing or making other students feel unsafe. They're not critical of that. They're critical of administration bringing in police to restore law and order. And then they're critical of Republicans having the audacity to highlight what is happening on college campuses, to show the rot that has taken place in higher education. Proving once again that the press never learns its lesson, the Washington Post graced us this week with a humdinger. Quote, Trump, GOP, seize on campus protests to depict chaos under Biden. To depict chaos, like it's not happening. And this is, again, never mind what you're seeing with your eyes. We're going to talk more about this when we come back. I can't run as late as I did in the last hour. So this is the last little bit we're talking about on college campuses, but I think it's important as you watch the media's coverage of it and the bias in the media's coverage as you continue to see headlines pro-Palestinian, and what we've seen is anti-Israel, but they will report it as pro-Palestinian. So we got more on this. Stay with us. Run a little bit late.
Our water's better tasting, it's better for the planet.
That's great, sir. Can I take your order?
Oh, number 3.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install our drinking water and softening systems, we're thinking about filtering contaminants and the minerals that make water hard. So you can just think about softer, cleaner, better tasting water. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Was your baby fed a cow's milk baby formula such as Similac or Enfamil? If so, your child may be entitled to significant financial compensation. Evidence shows that cow's milk formulas increase the risk of NEC in premature babies, causing severe harm and even death. If your child was born premature and suffers from NEC, intestinal perforations, sepsis, cerebral palsy, or died as a result, you may have the right to sue for significant financial compensation. Call now for a free case review.
Race car drivers change lanes very fast, but with no outside mirrors. How come they don't crash?
Introducing Angel View, the new wide-angle mirror that reduces blind spots. Angel View simply snaps over your car's rear view mirror, giving you a 160-degree view behind you. Just look at the difference. Look, ordinary...
Got a little extra Market Street view as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. I hit the wrong button. I apologize over that. Okay, a couple comments before we get back into this piece. From viewers, can you explain to me why these individuals hate Jews? I'm at a total loss as to why they are throwing away $80,000 a year to protest. Well, the protest is kind of like I go back to this, and I know this sounds kind of wacky. But you know the old, and I don't think it's really a stereotype, but kids would go to college and be a big party, and you'd spend $80,000. Well, you want to spend at that time, but let's say a lot of money to go to keg parties and do those type of things, and everybody laughs about it after the fact. Now that's not as cool. The keg parties and the frats have been turned into kind of a negative stigma, and so now you have protests being the thing that shows that you are on the right cause. Your friends are on the right cause too. And it's a I don't think it's a fad because I don't think it's going away anywhere, but it's kind of the trendy thing to do. So they've just latched onto something that, in my opinion, to your point about hating Jews, I think they've latched onto something that they believe can be rebellious, meaning, back in the day, kind of punk rock, originally rock and roll, and then punk rock, and the kind of shocking things you could do to scare your parents or to kind of thumb your nose to society. Well, unfortunately, I think in this case, they decided to latch onto an extreme. And if you remember that piece that I keep mentioning to the new left, that Hamas is cool and swastikas are woke, in that piece, the argument that the gentleman made was that the left and these protesters have latched on to basically everything, and I can't remember the term he used, but everything is one issue, and that's Palestine. So that means if you're fighting for a transgender cause, this is not going to make sense, but this is what the argument is, that now you're on this anti-Israel kick, or because it's every problem that you're having is now Israel's fault, and you support it in pro-Palestinian terms. Or you say you're pro-Palestinian. I'm having a little trouble articulating this because it is so wacky. But so any problem that a young person has, if they've been discriminated against because they're overweight, because that was one of the examples that they gave, or you're in support of some minority group, something like that, that is all now labeled under this. So that's, unfortunately, the trend. I don't know if I did a good job with that, but I hope I did. Another comment from a viewer, meanwhile, this destruction is breaking the taxpayers. Absolutely. And then, ending on this comment for the moment, as always, I'm looking forward to hearing from Joe Sempolinski tomorrow. Yes, Joe Sempolinski, former congressman, current assembly candidate, and chairman of the Republican Committee of Steuben County, will be our guest tomorrow during the Steuben Senior Services Fund interview. And that's going to be right around 7. If he gets here early, we're putting him right on the spot. So you have to tune in early. Make sure you get all of Joe Sempolinski. I know he's a fan favorite. Then on Friday, we'll be hearing from Shades from Tioga Downs. We'll find out from him who he likes in the Derby on Saturday. And that, too, is with the Steuben Senior Services Fund interview section of the program. So back to this piece by the Post editorial board. And they're talking about how they're, And they do this a lot, where they don't want to focus on the protests. They don't want to focus on the anti-Semitism strain and the left. What they want to focus on is that the GOP and Trump are seizing on it. Like the piece I had to you from Stephen Collinson, Republicans smell an opening. So they highlight the headline from the Washington Post, Trump GOP seize on campus protests to depict chaos under Biden. This followed a New York Times headline from December, quote, as fury erupts over campus anti-Semitism, conservatives seize the moment. In short, nothing is ever a problem because it's a problem. It's only an issue because conservatives, quote, seize on it, or better yet, quote, pounce on it. But Americans, particularly Jewish Americans, are coming to their own conclusions about how terrifying these protests are. They witness students taking over public areas, pounding on windows and accosting people, demanding that Israel surrender unconditionally to Hamas terrorists. They read about activists cheering for Iran over the U.S., disappointed that the Ayatollah's missiles didn't kill more people. It's ignorance and bile spewed on social media. And it's worse than that, too. Not just worse. I mean, there's more to it than that, too. There's so much anti-Semitism in what they're saying, being pro-Hamas, these type of things. But again, it's not an issue. The only issue is that Republicans have seized on it. It's very similar to the never mind what you're seeing with your eyes. Believe us. No one is depicting anything. This is reality. Oh, but, quote, Republicans highlight images of turmoil, though most of the pro-Palestinian demonstrations have been peaceful. The Post continues without shame. That's the Washington Post. Using the same language, the same lies that it did during the George Floyd riots. No, it's not peaceful to chant from the river to the sea and call for the eradication of Israel. It is not moral to rip down the posters of kidnapped Israeli citizens. It is hate, pure and simple. So much seizing and pouncing during the Biden years. In 2021, the Associated Press reported conservatives seize on gas crunch to blame Biden and stir up the base. Transgender athletes dominating women's sports. Well, the Hill had Republicans, quote, seizing on that in 2023. Conservatives pounced when soft-on-crime DA Larry Krasner said Philadelphia didn't have a crime crisis. Republicans not only pounced on high inflation, but CNN said they exploited the painful cost of living increases. A little fatigued from all the pouncing, Republicans? Well, Republicans zeroed in on Biden's handling of the border. Something you may have noticed. All these issues are real. Inflation has exploded under Biden. Allowing biological men to compete in women's sports is unfair. Letting criminals free with no bail and decriminalizing things like shoplifting does lead to an increase in crime. Illegal migrants are flooding into the country. Is it pouncing to point out the truth? Americans are sick of being lied to by a smug journalist elite who claim the problems we face are simply partisan talking points. It has backfired on the press before, and it will backfire on them again. Americans don't need anyone to seize on the things they can see for themselves. But that's a way for them to downplay. I thought it was a brilliant piece by the New York Post. So I wanted to mention that to you before we ran too late. Let's take another short break. Keep those comments coming in. By the way, just to piggyback off this before we go, Biden administration is considering accepting Gazan refugees from Israel-Hamas war. We've got a lot more breaking news when we come back. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. We will be right back.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer.
How do I know if I have a case?
Call 844-292-6222 and consult with one of our attorneys to find out if the products you used are part of the lawsuit. Your eligibility will also depend on how often you use these hair products and your specific cancer diagnosis. If you regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. Call 844-292-6222.
How much will it cost to talk to an attorney?
There is no fee unless we win your case. Call 844-292-6222 for your free case review.
Hi, I'm Aubrey. For over 40 years, the Blaze Alexander family dealerships have been making car buying easy, affordable, with respect for your time.
And we do that by treating all of our customers like family.
By making sure you get the lowest rates, biggest discounts, and most for your trade.
By providing clean, comfortable, and convenient service.
By offering the largest selection of new and pre-owned vehicles every day. Visit a Blaze Alexander family dealership
where we're taking the deals the other guys won't.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-781-9990 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-781-9990. 1-800-781-9990.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I'm your host, Frank Acom. Another comment regarding the protests. This coming from a viewer. Of course, the college and university professors think they know best. They are much smarter than the common folk that have ordinary jobs. And you've got to remember, too, to add to that bubble idea, that elitist idea, they're also surrounded by yes men. What I mean by yes men is they are surrounded by students that have to agree with them to get better grades. Because do you think, and this goes back to the self-censorship that we talked about earlier, do you think you would feel confident going to a college today and writing a piece to your professor, maybe your poli-sci professor, talking about the virtues of a Ronald Reagan or the virtues of a Trump or something like that? No, of course. You would, in your heart of hearts, you are going to get, if not a failing grade, a much worse grade than if you picked a radical. So they're surrounded by yes men, and they believe they're the smartest person in the room. But continuing with this point, what they don't think about is that the people with the ordinary jobs are where academia gets the money to pay their huge salaries. Exactly. And now when you have school loans being paid off by people that maybe never went to college or already paid off their college or paid off their kids' colleges or whatever the case is, these universities, and this is what's making them scared. Don't think for a moment it's not. What's making them scared about these protests are they wanted to, when all this money's coming in, to keep raising tuition. Keep that money coming in, keep getting bigger salaries. So I think you're exactly right. They believe they are the smartest people in the room. They deserve the most money. And that was such a smug piece from CNN, where never mind conservatives if you think that there's liberals indoctrinating your children. Never mind. Appreciate us at higher education. Understand that we are the bedrock of democracy. It's the delusion, the grandeur, the delusion of grandeur, I should say, the smugness, the elitist. It's enough to make you cringe. Okay, next comment from a viewer. The real question should be, why is the media giving so much airtime to the protest? Without the airtime, it will go away on its own. I feel like it's having the opposite effect and making me see it as racist towards the Jewish students that had nothing to do with it. I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised with the amount of coverage, but I do think they wanted it to be, and I still think they're trying to push it to be, this is so 1968. These protesters are on the right side of history, because many, as we're learning in the media and in Washington, do not like Israel. I don't know how else to word it. And so they're very upset with Israel. So they see this as being on the right side of history. Yeah, they wouldn't like, I think many of them would say, whoa, when we hear the anti-Semitism, we don't want to report on that. We know it's there. We know it's a pro-Hamas message. We've seen the sickening sign that said final solution, those type of things. So that's why they downplay that part, or they don't acknowledge that. Like I was saying, some coverage I watched, I won't say what outlet, but some coverage I was watching said on this day in history, the same protest, trying to compare it to civil rights protests and trying to compare it to anti-war protests. And that's not what this is. This is pro-war. If you think about it, it's pro-Hamas. So, again, I think that's why the media is giving us so much coverage. They have that nostalgia factor, or that almost an awe. And a lot of it they learn from journalism classes at college, ironically. They long for the days of the Vietnam protests and the Woodward and Bernstein bringing down a Republican president. Those are the kind of stories that they reminisce about. They weren't a part of it, but they've been told so much about it that it's a next level kind of thing. And that's what they're trying to do with this. So they started reporting on that, and now they realize they've kind of painted themselves into a corner because of how much hate was being spewed. Let's change the topic, though, shall we? But you could keep weighing in on it, of course, as always. I did want to mention this quickly. On some breaking news, if you will. Congressman Nick Langworthy has announced more than $5 million for Head Start in Steuben County. Head Start and early Head Start programs give children from low-income families the critical early education development support they need to thrive in school. I'm thrilled to announce this significant $5 million investment in future generations of Steuben County. Investing in our youngest learners not only sets them up for success in school and beyond, but also strengthens our communities and economy in the long run. Tongue-tied there. According to HHS, Head Start programs support children's growth from birth to age 5 through services centered around early learning and development. Okay. Oh, I know. How do I? Man, I am really changing up topics today, aren't I? I'm jumping all around. Here's an update, because I know we promoted this quite a bit on the USA Today's Top Best Travel Awards, because Corning was nominated for a few. Well, Corning placed number 7 out of 10 for Best Small Town Culture Scene in 2024. Corning Centerway Square was voted 5th best public square in the country. The Williams-Toyota Wineglass 5K was voted to the top 10 best 5K races in the U.S. It was voted 8th place. And the Wegmans Wineglass Half Marathon was voted to the top 10 best half marathons in the U.S., voted 9th place. So that is an update from earlier programs. You know, since we're going to piggyback on this, I keep saying piggyback, but we just talked about the media and how they're trying to cover this, and it's Republicans pounce. Did you see, and this is written, I'm not going to say in any way, shape, or form anti-Trump, but maybe a headline that catches your attention. Biden is crying fake news so loudly, you think he was Trump. And I thought this was a really good point. President Biden continues to insist that negative press about his failed presidency is fake news and whines about not getting the positive coverage he claims he deserves. And we mentioned this. Pelosi the other day whining too, actually calling Katie Tur from MSNBC a Trump apologist because she had the audacity to say, well, the jobs lost at the end of his term was because of a global pandemic. And she called, but the same goes with Biden. If he is asked a fair question, something off script, he gets angry. He calls names. Now, of course, since it's a Democrat president screaming about fake news, the reaction is muted. I'm sincerely not asking you to take sides. I'm asking you to rise up to the seriousness of the moment, Biden told media members at last weekend's White House Correspondents' Dinner. Pardon me. In the age of disinformation, credible information that people can trust is more important than ever. And that makes you, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, that makes you more important than ever, he told members of the media. For starters, Biden doesn't need to tell the media to take sides. We passed that exit long, long ago. And it's great unintentional comedy that the president is warning about the dangers of disinformation while being one of the biggest purveyors of it. A classic example came in December as Biden was heading to Camp David when he was asked, what's your outlook on the economy next year? And he said, all good. Take a look. Start reporting it that way. In other words, the economy is awesome, according to the president. Forget the food and gas prices, that they continue to rise. Forget that wages aren't keeping up with inflation and credit card debt is at an all-time high. And definitely forget about all the polls showing a decided majority of voters disapproving of Biden's handling of the economy and inflation. It's all fake. It's all fake news. And I thought that was a good point because we've heard a lot about this, and not just Biden himself complaining, but people behind the scenes complaining to the media with those letters to news outlets. But Joe Biden is asking for better coverage from the media, even though it's barely a fraction as negative as it was during the Trump era. No, you can't even compare the two. The negative coverage is self-inflicted on Biden. I mean, they don't want to cover this, trust me. He could start by doing less of the kind of T-ball interviews he did with Howard Stern or actor Jason Bateman, as we saw this week, and perhaps finally sit down and take questions from an actual journalist on the issues voters care about. Don't expect that to happen, though. Biden wants 4 more years while avoiding accountability and casting himself as a beacon of truth against disinformation. If he loses in November, maybe, like Trump, he'll even claim the election was stolen. So what do you think about that? As I mentioned earlier, yeah, I'm doing okay. Michael Moore warns Biden he's handing Trump a victory. Do you agree? Also, we got some other breaking news stories. I want to take a break because I got to grab a glass of water because I'm going to cough again. Stay with me. This is, frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We're moving fast this morning, so don't go anywhere.
Attention high school students, college transfer students, or anyone looking to further their education. This is the event for you at the Elmira Elks on May the 8th. There will be a free college fair with free parking. Come and talk to 2- and 4-year college representatives, in and out-of-state schools, public and private schools, technical schools, United States Armed Service recruiters, local police and fire departments recruiting new cadets. This only happens once a year, May the 8th, at the Elmira Elks College Fair from 6 to 8 p.m.
You rip and tear your old statements and bills, but thieves use this information to steal your identity. Don't be a victim. Get the ID Police, the new ink roller that encrypts all your old documents. So before you throw it out, just roll it on, and your information is gone, both on the front and through the back. Even if the paper is held up to the light, even your medical information is safe with the ID Police. So block it out before you throw it out. Order now and get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 and get free shipping too. This offer is not available on Amazon, so call or click now to get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 with free shipping. Order now.
Call 1-800-898-1002. That's 1-800-898-1002 or visit getidpolice.com. So call 1-800-898-1002. Order now.
Name something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud. 7 and 7:30.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you for all the comments today. A little off topic, did you see that Biden signed an executive order directing all federal agencies to register to vote everyone that they come in contact with? I'd heard something about that. I never got the full details, though. I'll have to do a little more research. I wonder what qualifications they need to meet. Well, that's a great question. What did I hear about this? Was this... Well, I'll do some more research on it. I don't want to speak out of school on that. So Michael Moore warns Biden he's handing Trump a victory. I know where he's speaking to millions of people when he was on CNN. Well, maybe overstating Michael. But I'd like to speak to one particular individual, and that is President Biden. He talked about the undeclared movement in Michigan, which saw more than 100,000 people vote undeclared in the primary as a protest of Biden's support of Israel. Which... whatever. His chance of not being reelected, I think, at this point is so great because of those numbers and because he's losing the youth vote. He's lost the Arab American vote in Michigan. He declared he was trying to save Biden and called on the president to close the bank on Israel and demand an immediate ceasefire. Israel's strikes have caused thousands of civilian deaths, he claimed. We need an immediate ceasefire. It is wrong. This is Michael Moore, the liberal film director. The mass slaughter of innocents, of children, of women, of the elderly is a sin. It is absolutely against what we believe. I know you know that too. We're going to lose the election. We're going to lose Michigan if we don't turn this around. It very much shows you what we're dealing with the quote-unquote new left. They're not hiding it anymore. I got so much paperwork here. Sorry. They're not hiding it anymore. And it goes back to that piece, like I mentioned, from Ryan Zickgraf, Meet the New Left, who thinks Hamas are good and the swastikas are woke. So Michael Moore believes because of his weakening support, meaning he started strong with Israel. Biden started strong with Israel. Even though that support has been weakening, he's got to call for an immediate ceasefire. The same kind of ceasefire that we saw on October 6th. Also adding to Biden's woes, consumer confidence drops to a 20-month low due to worries about food and gas prices. The Consumer Confidence Index sank to 97.0 this month from a revised 103.1 in March. That's the lowest level since July of 2022. Well, again, we're told, what are we worrying about? Everything is fine. Never mind your grocery bills. Never mind what you're experiencing in your pocketbook. All right, how are we doing here? I know I got a couple things to talk about, but also adding to his woes, immigration has named top U.S. problem for the third straight month, according to Gallup. Immigration has been the most politically polarizing issue mentioned in the past 24 years. Wow. A study, 27% of Americans say the most important problem facing the U.S. is immigration. And who's got a better record on immigration? Former President Trump or Biden? Now, I'm not going to get into all the numbers, just something that I thought kind of interesting. Maybe the Republicans will pounce, right? That was one of the pieces that they didn't mention in the Post. That was what Republicans pounced on the chaos at the border. Immigration is most politically polarizing issue on most important problem list. All right, anyway, enough on that. Oh, what did you think about this? You know, a couple weeks ago we had that where it just seemed like Biden was trying to buy a lot of votes, meaning you had the school loan issue, forgiving school debt. There was like 2 or 3 things, and I can't remember what they all were, that it just seemed like a vote buy. This is sort of like that without the money. Did you see the DOJ is planning to reschedule marijuana as a lower risk drug? The Biden administration moved Tuesday to reclassify marijuana as a lower risk substance, a historical move that acknowledges the medical benefits of the long criminalized drug and carries broad implications for cannabis-related research and the industry at large. Now, as The Sun puts it, the last thing we should be focusing on, says baffled Americans after Biden vows to make marijuana a less dangerous drug. Yes, with everything going on in the world, and I mean the world, with so many worried about a potential World War III scenario, and I'm not saying that lightly, when you see the economic issues we have here at home, so much trouble, so much trial and tribulation and worry, and yet this administration is focusing on lessening the, what's the word I'm looking for? The rescheduling, that's the word I'm looking for, of marijuana as a lower risk drug. Well, there you go. If that's something, this would be the biggest policy change from the agency in more than 50 years. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Trump campaign, since we're talking about Biden. Do I have time? I do have time. Oh, one quick thing before we do that. Yesterday, our friend Assemblyman Phil Palmisano held a press conference to encourage organ donation. I know we had that video for you yesterday. I just wanted to show you a picture from yesterday's press conference. There's Linda Forrest, Judy Hunter, Molly Linen, Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, and Teresa Philbin. I just thought it was nice to highlight that their press conference went well yesterday. New York's organ donor enrollment statistics are sobering and unacceptable. We can and we must do better, said Palmisano. So they had a nice get-together. That was just as an update because yesterday was the last day of Give Life Month. Oh, okay, Trump campaign. I love how aggressive they're being with this. Now, Biden, I was surprised by this. I'm still not confident in it. Biden signaled that he is going to debate. There is going to be a presidential debate. I asked the question. Maybe you know the answer. According to the polls right now, and that he's been holding steady, I think RFK Jr. would have to be in those debates. But anyway, so Biden claims he's going to debate. I still am not confident. It's one of those things I'll see it, or I'll believe it when I see it. But Trump has been aggressive, always saying, I'll debate anytime, anywhere. Well, they actually asked for more and earlier debates, but the commission turned them down. The Commission on Presidential Debates, which has a questionable history when it comes to Republicans, refused to acknowledge the Trump campaign's request for earlier and more frequent 2024 showdowns, sticking with its original schedule of 3 face-to-face meetings beginning in mid-September. Two top advisors to the 45th president sent a letter to the CPD on April 11th stating the 77-year-old Trump was ready to debate Biden anytime, any place, and anywhere, and arguing that earlier debates would allow for more voters to view a head-to-head matchup before early voting begins. And I think there's a fair point there. When it comes to the early voting, that happens so early now. Now, on Friday, Biden confirmed during an interview with Howard Stern that he would debate Trump after previously questioning whether or not he would. I don't think that means anything. First of all, did you see that interview? I'm not going to say that I was ever a Howard Stern fan, but I was told he was edgy and really a tough interview. It was like fangirl type stuff. It was very uncomfortable, the few clips that I saw, just about how great Biden was and how it's good to have him as a leader because you can be proud that he's a leader. Just very, I don't know. I guess I was always told he was edgy. I don't need to get into that. Early Tuesday afternoon, RNC spokesperson Danielle Alvarez told the New York Post that the letter to the CPD had been greeted by crickets from debate organizers. The commission told Fox News in a statement the CPD's criteria will be applied in early September. Afterwards, the commission will extend debate invitations to qualifying candidates. Call it qualifying candidates. That could be an RFK Jr. The president, and this is what Trump spokespeople said, the Presidential Debate Commission's schedule does not begin until after millions of Americans will have already cast their ballots. This is unacceptable, and by refusing to move up the debates, they are doing a grave disservice to the American public who deserve to hear from both candidates before voting begins. President Trump has stated he will debate Joe Biden anytime, anywhere, anyplace, and Joe Biden himself just agreed to debate. Again, I don't think that means anything. I mean, what was that story brought to you yesterday? I mean, that the White House has admitted 148 mistakes in Biden's speeches. Just this year alone. So what's to say that, no, he said that on Howard Stern show, like that's some groundbreaking historical thing. He said that on there, but he misspoke. I don't think that's too far to jump to you. I guess, I hope, maybe I'm just jaded because I do hope there are debates. I just don't have high hopes for it. Now, we have to take a short break. Stay with us. What do you think? Will there be presidential debates? Let me know. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Some people who need Social Security disability benefits go to their hearing alone and get turned down. Not every lawyer will appeal a denial after your hearing. I will. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. I help people win benefits by appealing their denials, including in federal court. But your time to appeal is limited, so call my office now.
Lockman & Gordon, 1-800-698-0567.
Looks like y'all got a lot of stuff here in your water.
You're never gonna believe it, but this can filter up to 60 different contaminants from your water.
It's all about cleaner drinking water.
Dude, that's good water.
And that's good water.
Now that's good water.
That's good water, eh?
No matter where you live, there's a Culligan water expert nearby. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
Every Saturday, your game is on Fox. Because here is where it happens. Saturday on Fox, Judge swaggered up and went supersonic. True story. Saturday on Fox, Mookie put on a show in New York. You saw that, right? Saturday on Fox, Acuna racked these up on his way to the record. And it was Saturday on Fox when Harper went on Harper. So yeah, Saturday on Fox.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on Big Fox. Thank you so much for joining us as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. So we were talking earlier about that college professor, the history professor, is so full of himself, so smug about how you caused the protests on college campuses because you as a Republican have been attacking higher education for years because of the liberal indoctrination by the professors. So therefore, you caused this anger to grow inside, et cetera, et cetera. Here's another example of kind of an ego-driven article. David Adelman, he's a contributor to CNN. He says, and this is, I love when these start to come out. It's actually a little late. I think we've seen one or two. But if Trump wins, I might leave America for good. How will we ever take it? How will we ever stand it as a country, Mr. Adelman? Please don't even joke about those kind of threats. Oh, my goodness. So full of themselves. But that's a very typical thing in the media. It's about me, me, me. Very much like what we're seeing on college campuses. So much narcissistic-driven content. But he says, as for us, meaning I believe him and his partner, much would depend on just what the nature of Trump's pledge to embrace the role of dictator for a day turns out to be. As Pamela says, it depends on how safe we feel in the type of country he's promising. One that is no longer a democracy. Well, David Adelman, thanks for the heads up. Here in May, if Trump wins, I might leave America for good. There's a couple takeaways if you want. Here's a comment. The shock jock Howard Stern, in my opinion, was a foul-mouthed, vulgar waste of human flesh. I think human flesh. I can in no way, shape, or form say that I was a fan or watched it. I just know that I was told he was edgy, maybe vulgar in that case. That was his shtick, shock jock, right? I mean, that was the term. The only shock that you saw from that interview with Biden is how much someone can suck up to somebody, how fawning someone can be. Continuing. CNN put together takeaways from day 9. Can I just ask a quick question before we do this? How did we ever have just a 1-hour show, frankly speaking? I feel like we have so much to get to, and now I'm killing time. So much to get to, and we had 2 hours, and we've covered so much. But CNN did their 9 takeaways from day 9 of the trial. I'm glad that the judge decided to allow the former president to go to Barron's graduation. I think because he originally put it off and said, we'll decide later. My opinion is he saw the political implications of not doing that, because even Piers Morgan saying, don't show up to trial. Take the whatever fine or whatever they do, because if they throw you in prison for going to your kid's graduation, you're guaranteed the White House. Was kind of the argument. And I think because this is the lawfare that we've talked about in such a politicalized case, and the judge so politicized himself, that I think he saw, or people at least behind the scenes told him, don't put him in that scenario, because he's going to pick graduation, and you're going to have to arrest the guy for going to his kid's graduation, and it's just going to add to this quote-unquote martyr-type status. So he made that decision. I'm not surprised that he did, though the arrogance sometimes, I wasn't sure if he would. Now, Trump did face that $9,000 fine because of the gag order, and was threatened. It was $1,000 for each time he violated the gag order. And there was also that threat of being thrown into jail if he continues to do it. I don't really want to go through all the trial, because you've heard all about it. Jurors hear about the Stormy Daniels payment paper trail. Stormy's lawyer takes a stand. Trump video played for jury in court. Yeah, I thought that was weird that they allowed him to play C-SPAN clips of Trump speaking at public events. Enough. Yeah, we'll move on from that, because we've got other issues to get to. But I do have to take our last break of this hour on Frankly Speaking. So get those last minute comments in so I can read them when we come back. What do you think about Mike Johnson? I know I bring this up a lot, but do you think Marjorie Taylor Greene will follow through on her threat to recall Johnson? Well, I'll let you weigh in. No sense me adding to the question. That was the question. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking.
Your wallet is always in danger. Criminals can hack your information without you even knowing. Introducing Slim Mint, an ultra-thin RFID blocking wallet that keeps your cards and cash protected. Slim Mint uses the latest RFID blocking technology to prevent thieves from stealing your info. It's ergonomically designed to optimize space and keep your belongings organized. With the auto-locking Slim Mint, your cards and money stay securely in place. It has a built-in cash clip and a flexible outer band to fit your additional cards and cash. Call or click Click now and get Slim Mint for just $29.99. Order in the next 5 minutes and you'll get an instant $10 discount. So it's only $19.99. But wait, due to rising costs, this may be your last chance to get Slim Mint at this low price. There's a strict limit of 3 Slim Mint wallets while supplies last. Don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-654-6604. Call or visit slimmintwallet.com. So call 1-800-654-6604. Order now.
It's a season of sharing.
Having a good time has always been my #1 goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. As one viewer commented about that gentleman who said he might just move away from the country for good if Trump wins, to that person saying he was going to leave the country. I hear they have plenty of vacancy in the illegal immigrants' former countries. Yes, a lot of, as we see by the numbers, a lot of vacancy. Okay, Hakeem Jeffrey has vowed to save Mike Johnson for Marjorie Taylor Greene's motion to vacate. It would be the nail in the coffin for Greene's motion to vacate, which has already struggled due to a lack of Republican support. Jeffries said, we will vote to table Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's motion to vacate the chair. If she invokes a motion, it will not succeed. Now, where was it? So, Marjorie Taylor Greene said, I will hold a press conference tomorrow at the Capitol Triangle. Hakeem Jeffries endorsed Mike Johnson to remain as Speaker today. We will discuss how this affects the motion to vacate. Do you think this is the direction we should go now? Lauren Boebert was on CNN's The Lead, so you know she was coming on to talk about Mike Johnson. Jake Tapper said, House Democrat leaders took an unusual step today. They announced that if needed, they would save the leadership or the speakership of Mike Johnson, the very conservative Louisiana Republican, if individuals like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others tried to oust him. How are lawmakers responding to that? Boebert said, we are passing the Democrat agenda each and every day. That we're here. We have a slim majority in the House, and everything's being passed overwhelmingly with Democrat support. So it makes no difference to me if it's Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker or Mike Johnson right now. Wow. Tell me this isn't a little bit... we're out of time. If you get a chance, and I'm not going to be able to get to all this, but the New York Post, and this is going to sound weird because this is so completely off topic, but we've talked so much about the media this morning. The New York Post put this out yesterday. Dan Rather fought the truth and won, and the media never recovered. Why did Dan Rather leave CBS? After all, seems like the world's come around to the world has now come around to his view. Witness a true tongue bath of an interview at his old home network this weekend. And proof positive in that interview that he fought against truth in journalism, and the truth lost. Yes, Rather was forced out at CBS for his disastrous reporting on George W. Bush's National Guard service, in which he relied on fabricated documents. You remember that, to allege that George W. got special treatment, and superiors had to lie about it. As all the follow-up reporting showed, it was utter nonsense. But do you remember, and this has turned into so much what they've done with Trump lately, do you remember what they ended up saying? It was the ends justify the means. The narrative that Bush was a nasty, evil, bad man, that narrative was correct. Rather argued facts were and are irrelevant because that was the fact. Remember, he stuck by the fake story for years and tried to make himself out to be the victim, when in fact he suffered only thanks to his own partisan rage and mid-wit hubris. He seemed an outlier at the time, even in a media landscape that most certainly leaned left, and did its best to run interference on what he did. As if you remember, do you remember the immortal, if you will, headline from the New York Times, quote, fake but accurate. That was the New York Times headline about Dan Rather's story. But he ended up writing the law our stenographer class lives by today, meaning the media class lives by today, that being journalism exists to help Democrats, period, by trying to suffocate bad stories about Hunter Biden, to fend off the political harm that might do his dad, or greasing the path for the Biden administration to lie about inflation or the border crisis, or going to bat for the Chinese government's version of where COVID came from, while shrieking for useless draconian measures against the virus here at home based on nonsense data. Here we are almost 2 decades later with ratherism, meaning Dan Rather, ratherism near triumphant and the actual goals of journalism in near ruin. So great work, Dan. You and your pals helped wreck a key institution of American life. The only casualty was the truth. We are out of time. Thank you to everybody who joined us this morning. Thank you for all the great back and forth. Tomorrow, former Congressman Joe Sempolinski will be our guest during the Steuben Senior Services Fund interview. So make sure you tune in, get your questions in before the interview or during the interview so we can pass them along to Joe. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll be back tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on Big Fox. Have a great day, everyone.
It's a new season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my number one goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.